Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Westport Board of Health, May 13th, 2024 meeting, which I'm calling to order and reminding you under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. And please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll get right down to business, starting with the written report. Any questions? And otherwise, I'll just let Matt go to his verbal report.
I have one.
I'm good. Proceed.
All right. So the Red Cross will be holding blood drives at St. John the Baptist Church, 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on May 16th and June 13th. I don't believe there's anything scheduled out beyond June 13th at this point. When Linda comes back on Wednesday, her and I were going to talk about that.
Okay.
The rabies clinic was held on May 4th from 9 to 12 behind the Hicksbridge Fire Station. There was a great turnout. 47 total vaccinations were given, which is quite a bit. That's pretty much double what we usually get. So that was a really good clinic, and I just wanted to say thanks to Chief Baldwin, the Okotoks vet, and Dr. Penny, and Nick for making that clinic a success. And we're going to try to make every effort to hold another clinic this year, maybe in the fall, but we'll have to check the budget and see, if that's possible.
Okay.
So mosquitoes, the Massachusetts mosquito season typically begins in early spring and peaks during the hot, humid summer months. You will usually start noticing increased mosquito activity around late April or early May. The activity intensifies throughout the summer, with mosquitoes becoming especially prevalent between June and August. As temperatures start to cool around September and October, mosquito populations usually decline. There are simple steps you can take to protect yourself and your family from mosquito bites and the illnesses that they can cause. Protect yourself from illness by doing simple things like using insect repellents. Anytime you're outdoors, wear long sleeve clothing. Schedule outdoor activities to avoid the hours from dusk to dawn during peak mosquito season. Repair damaged window and door screens and remove standing water from the areas around your home. Ticks. In Massachusetts, tick activity and tick-borne illness can occur year-round. However, most tick-borne diseases tend to peak during the summer months of June, July, and August. One of the most important things you can do is check yourself for ticks once a day. Favorite places ticks like to go on your body include areas between the toes, back of the knees, groin, armpits, and neck, along the hairline and behind the ears. Remember to check your children and pets too. Remove any attached ticks as soon as possible. When going outside to an area likely to have ticks, stick to the main pathways and to the center of the trails when hiking. Wear light-colored long-sleeve shirt with long pants and tuck your pants into your socks. This may be difficult to do when the weather is hot, but it will help keep ticks away from your skin and make it easier to spot a tick on your clothing. Repellents that contain DEET can be used on your exposed skin. Permethrin is a product that can be used on your clothes. Always follow the product instructions and use repellents with no more than 30 to 35% DEET on adults and 10 to 15% DEET on children. Never use insect repellents on infants.
Okay, great. That's it for updates.
That's it. It's just, up on our sign out front, we have a webpage you can go to if you have more questions about the mosquitoes and ticks. I think it's going to be a particularly active season because it seems like it's going to be a hot, humid type damp season. So whatever you can do to minimize illness, for yourself and others around your house, it'll be helpful to follow, these guidelines.
Do we have the tick cards? Do we have a bunch of those?
You do still have a bunch, yes.
Okay, so those are available at the Board of Health. And
They will be tomorrow. They're probably still tucked away. Oh, there was some out on the table outside in the hallway.
yeah.
I can replenish those.
Okay.
Yeah, these are small, like wallet size tick cards that show you the different pictures of the different, deer ticks, dog ticks, and so on, so you, to help identify at their various stages. So they're useful to have. I have one on my refrigerator, so
We
great.
have some new ones this year that, it's the same card, but it's also a removal tool. It has a little tool built into it that you can remove the ticks with, so we're
That's
gonna be ordering
beautiful.
some of those.
I want one of those.
Me too.
Okay,
And
great.
dog owners need to check their dogs for ticks and get collars or medication that can prevent the ticks from surviving when they get on the dog.
Dogs get Lyme disease too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to minutes. We have the April 1st, 2024 minutes, which I think we were not able to approve last time. Phil, you were absent, and it was just you and I at those that meeting, so we have to review the minutes. Did you have any questions or?
No, I didn't, I was fine.
Okay. Can we just do one quick correction on the page 3, the well variance hearing for Jill Cremens? It says, Mr. Leach noted that potential well sites were limited by the salt marsh on the property and the septic system was downgrade. It should be down gradient. I don't want people to be confused about that. From the proposed well site. Other than that,
So I move to approve the minutes of April 1st, 2024.
I will second that.
And I abstain because I was absent.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so that's 2 to nothing with 1 abstention. Thank you. April 29th. Any questions or corrections on that one?
I just had one minor one. In the board member updates, it said Ms. Amaral noted her attendance at the State Health Board Association program. It says that focused on, it addressed. It wasn't focused on that. That was part of what was addressed at the meeting.
Okay. Any?
And other than that, I move that we approve the minutes from
Second, go.
April 29th, 2024.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we now go on to some other business. First is the next regular meeting in 2 weeks would be on Memorial Day, so we need to reschedule that. And we had a proposed date, which,
The
don't have my
30th?
notes. The 30th. Is that,
And that works for me.
gosh, May 30th. Things have come up in the meantime. Oh, no, it doesn't. May 30th does not work for me. That's the
okay.
PFAS day. Why did I say?
I said the 30th. I
Okay.
don't know if that's the date you had.
So on the 30th is, I have signed, did you sign up, Phil?
I believe I did, yeah. that,
Okay, we both have signed up for a PFAS conference at Boston College. You know, that email.
The
Yeah.
29th, we have mental health first aid training
Okay,
for that whole day.
the 28th, I thought we were thinking of the 28th.
The Tuesday.
the Tuesday.
Oh, but you might have Concom in the
Um,
evening.
Yeah, I did, yeah, so I think the preference is not to, in the normal course, have our meeting at the same week.
Same week, okay.
So,
So when when is your Concom meeting? Is it the June 1st?
I should have come prepared with the calendar. but,
June 4th would be the,
Let's see, so if I just look.
Is the
So
31st available?
It's happening the 14th, normal course it would happen the 14th and the 28th, because it's happening tomorrow.
okay. Friday the 31st, does that work? No, not for
But
you.
doesn't for me.
Okay.
So,
And the,
and then the following week is you have Concom. Can we?
Did we
So
say
then
no to the
following-
28th?
Well, so the following, oh, so we could, so it'd be the 11th would be the next Concom meeting. If it was on the 28th.
Oh, your Concom is on the 28th.
Yeah, because
Oh.
it's tomorrow, then 2 weeks would be the 28th, and then the next,
Okay, so right now, we are on the same week schedule.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that we
So,
are, we
um,
talked about,
Do you want to try
you know,
June
changing.
3rd
June 3rd works.
Yeah, but
June 3rd at
I think
4.
that's
June
okay
3rd.
with me.
at 4 PM?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll move the Memorial Day meeting to June 3rd, 4 PM. And we can see where we're at that point, whether we just slide everything else 2 weeks hence, or whether we do another meeting in the following week.
Do we need to do it?
Probably get on the same week as select board.
Ah,
Yeah, because right now you're all alternating.
we can't win, can we?
How it goes.
Well, we will do the next meeting, June 3rd at 4 PM, and then we'll assess the schedule after that.
Do we need to do an official vote?
Huh?
Do we need to do an official vote to make
No.
that vote? Okay.
Okay, so next meeting is June 3rd at 4 PM. We have, can we do hearings early? We don't have a butters, or do we want to do board member updates and let these gentlemen wait till 4:30?
I do have a butters on the line though.
Okay, so,
Just
I don't.
But I do have 3 green cards, so.
okay. Well, let's go ahead and do Mr. Nicholas so we can get him out of here. So I'm going to call the hearing for 180 Tickle Road, owned by Claire Messier, as this is a 3-bedroom repair with a Presby on a 22,610 square foot lot. Greg Nicholas from South Coast Engineering representing. Good afternoon, Mr. Nicholas.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. Okay, as you stated, it's an existing 3-bedroom house at 180 Tickle Road. Has an existing system, it's a pipe and stone system, and it has an existing steel tank, which is the reason that this thing got flagged by the current owner. The tank itself, somewhere along the line, somebody poured a concrete slab on top of it, and that's starting to fall through the top. So obviously the tank had to be replaced. Talking to the owner, I suggested, I said, this system here is 40 years old. I don't know what the system itself looks like. I didn't at the time talk to us, and we replaced the whole thing. At the time we did the perk test, we did uncover part of the system. The system itself doesn't look bad, but like I said, it's 40 years old. It's undersized, it's built under probably the old, whatever that was, Article 7, even before Title 5, so it was time to replace it. So what we have here is a Presby system. As you can see, we have some staggered rows in order to meet the setback requirements on the east side of the property. And the one waiver we are requesting is to 3.7 feet away from the barn slab elevation. That's a large shed, small barn. We're able to maintain 100 feet away from all the wells, closest one being Locust Well at 100.3. This system will be staked out prior to having it installed because of that, 0.3 of a foot. Doesn't really give us much wiggle room, but we'll get it staked out, and that way they will be sure that it goes in the right place. So, other than that one waiver request, is pretty straightforward. So I'll turn it back to the chair. Any questions?
Let me turn first to Matt, and then we'll open it up for board member questions.
No questions.
How are we with paperwork, Matt? Are we getting the paperwork in that we need?
Yeah.
We got it in.
So this is just a curiosity kind of question. Since
Is it a
there's, I don't know what kind of activity is at the barn, and, I'm just curious. Does it make sense to have H20 load instead of H10 because there might be heavy equipment coming in and out of that barn?
That's a shed.
Oh.
After you asked me that question about it, I thought, that at the last hearing, do we really need that? I don't think we do, but I mean, I'm not opposed to it, and it's not a big deal to change that, to make it extremely.
It was just more of a curiosity question, because I didn't know how that
Yeah, it's a
was
shed.
being
I mean,
used. Yeah,
This was Warren Messier's house, so he had a tractor over here.
Oh,
And yeah, I don't think that tractor's moved in 40 years. And his health is as such now that he's not gonna be.
yeah, but
riding
is
it.
this property gonna be sold?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll leave that to your discretion, I just.
Yeah, I don't think it warrants it.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
No, not for me.
Okay, it still needs con review.
Yes, deed restriction and a whole harmless agreement.
Yep, okay.
So I move that we approve the plans for 180 Tickle Road, owned by Claire Messier, reversible trust, revocable trust, dated for 2024, for a 3-bedroom repair, with a variance as written in the plan, distance from edge of the system to the barn slab foundation, 3.7 feet instead of 10 feet, with the following conditions: hold harmless agreement, 3-bedroom deed restriction, and Concom review.
Second.
A motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I am gonna wait till 4:40, for the next one. So we'll move to board member updates.
Okay, I have a couple.
Sure.
Successfully held the first mental health awareness event at the library on Saturday regarding self-compassion. On Tuesday at the middle high school, we will have a presentation called Increasing Positive Interactions and Emotional Well-Being, Family Communication. It will begin at 6, but doors will open at 5:30. And then the following week, and the speaker I have is a social worker who is part of the Westport practice here, also is in private practice and does both adolescent and adult psychotherapy. And there'll be 2 adjustment counselors, Mary Jo Medeiros and Sean Thomas, who will be there to answer questions for discussion and question and answer period after that. And we'll have a special guest, which will be the therapy dog that is at the high school, which Sean Thomas owns and brings to school twice a week to show as a resource that's available in the school. So I hope that parents will come. I hope teens will come, because they will be addressing how to talk to your parents. And so I think it benefits all families in the community. The following week, on the 22nd, we will have our presentation of the impact of opioid addiction on individuals, families, and communities. There will be 4 speakers. Excuse me. Stephanie Perry from South Coast Community Health, where she's an expert in addictions. Our own Olive Wisniewski, who is the coordinator of the collaborative between us and 5 other towns. And she will be presenting the community impact. She has a master's in public health. Stephanie will talk about individual impact and impact in community as well. And then we'll have 2 speakers. We'll have a parent from Westport who lost a child to opioid addiction, and we will have somebody in long-term recovery. There will be an question and answer period of discussion afterwards as well. So again, that's at 6 o'clock at the middle high school on the 22nd of May. Doors will open at 5:30.
Great, thank you. Do you have those, like on your, I'm just thinking about ways to promote it more on Facebook.
Well, I'm promoting it on a couple of the Westport town Facebook pages.
Okay.
On my own. It certainly has been, I think I might contact the Shorelines for next week's to see if you can put in, this is what's happening. Yeah, a little blurb about that.
I know that.
I sent it to the school department
Yeah.
to have them post it. I don't know if it's gotten posted on the school website, but I sent them the 2 that are being held at the school.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm not
anything
sure how else, and it's also, And it's also been publicized in the Fall River, United Neighbors of Fall River. They have a massive email list, and it's been sent to everybody on their email list. So they usually do, this is what's happening this week, and then they send all the flyers from all the different organizations. So ours have been in there as well.
Okay, great. Thank
Is there a Westport Parent and Teachers Association?
Yes, yes, I sent it to them.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm just
I was
curious.
expecting it to get posted.
Uh-huh.
I first sent it to to the principal, and then she directed me to someone else, and I sent it to them.
Okay.
But I haven't
good.
seen anything posted, and I get on Facebook pages for Westport schools, and I haven't seen it posted.
All right, well, anything else we can, each individually do to help promote it, that would be helpful.
Well, spread the word.
Yep,
There,
great.
I mean, especially, both of them are going to be good. The one next week, I'm hoping that people in the community that have been impacted by opioid addiction will attend, because there may be some discussion about what would they like to see happen to the funds that are available for the opioid
From the opioid settlement.
the opioid settlement funds, which we now have a designated account for in town. And I've also spoken informally to Shauna Schufelt about, Board of Health taking some leadership, and I would be happy to, and I'm sure Olive would be happy to be participating and making some decisions, or having a focus group where we ask people in town to come in. What do you think we should do with this money to help people who've been impacted by opioid addiction? The school department, the fire and police department should be involved, and people in the community. Fall River's has had focus groups to talk about exactly how they'd like to see the money dispersed in the community to best help. So I'd like to see that happen here as well.
And the settlement funds, there'll be additional funds coming in from those various pharmaceutical companies to each of the communities, including Westport, through 2038, so it's a
Right.
long term.
So it's a long term, but the state is going to give guidance on specific use, but it's for education and outreach. It may be for some programming and prevention, and also dealing with people who are struggling. So that's something to keep in mind, but I'm expecting that there'll be some conversation about that on the May 22nd meeting.
Yeah, that'll be helpful. Okay, great, thank you.
Good.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Phil?
No, just that I, started to move forward with some of the process, thinking about the private well regulations. And I'm going to check in with Matt and, as to what I'm thinking about, and, how he would like to go about doing it. I had, this is part of the sending you the data that I had, and are you doing this just for this most, you said you were going to try to match it up. Are you going to do it for this most recent, or are you going to go back in time too?
I did it for this,
Yeah.
just because that's what you gave me.
Right, right.
I haven't looked at the older data.
Okay.
And we can talk about the specifics of that, but.
Okay, yeah.
I would say half dozen unknowns.
Okay.
Most of them are as a result of, obviously, an upgrade
Yeah.
in the neighborhood, because of distance, so
Yeah,
most
yeah.
of the systems are newer.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
better
what
results.
right, exactly. Well, that's what that's what I would think. Okay. I was just curious
Yeah,
about
we
that.
can follow.
Yeah, so we can follow up. Yeah, okay.
All right, I was out of town most of the last 2 weeks, so, except for I get back in time for town meeting. As everybody knows, we did get increased funding for animal control to try again to hire an animal control officer, so Matt will be working on that. We did get the funds for the new dumpsters that we need at the transfer station, so Matt will be working on that.
That was already ordered, so.
He's on top of his game. And then the vaccine fund, that was revolving fund, or whatever they call that, that was passed. So uneventful on our part from town meeting. So I don't have any other updates.
And then it was also the the change so that we could make funds available
Oh,
for the
yes.
loan.
The 1% loan programs, thank you for reminding me.
Um,
Yes, and I think Nelia is working on that as well. We already had a number of folks who were interested in that program, waiting for that change at town meeting, which went through, so that those loans can proceed. Okay, that's all I've got. Anything else, either unanticipated or topics for the next regular meeting that we should discuss? Otherwise, we're gonna.
And I think that one of the things that we were talking about before was looking at what's going to happen on East Beach and looking at, evaluating how we can proceed with things like tight tanks and systems down by the water. I think that we need to kind of look at that.
Obviously, that is vulnerable territory, and I was just reading about the switch from, I forget, El Nino to El Nina, is that
Mhm.
right? And they're anticipating a very active hurricane season, so that's going to be a challenge for East Beach.
It is going to be.
So that we should think about addressing that, and we will have a
I think,
opportunity to kind of jump on a little bit about that at 4:50.
yeah, and I think that, just looking at the weather patterns recently too, with all the tornadoes, some of the changes that are happening, that's greatly impacting the flooding down in Brazil, and there's just so much happening weather-wise that we
Yeah.
really need to be thinking about that
Trying to
and
get
planning
ahead of
for
it,
that.
yeah. Okay, well, I'll note that for a future meeting. Anything else?
Not for me, sorry.
What do we think? Can we just kind of, sir, are you here for a hearing?
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
Ryan,
Oh, good. Do we have any other abutters who might?
I think if any, I would have seen Mr. Nato. The other one's in Arizona, so he won't be coming, I'm certain of that. He made the trip for this partner event,
Okay,
and I don't know about the property line about it. I
Okay.
doubt it, but
can we take a chance and go early? What do we think?
We can, but then if somebody shows up, we'd have to restart it.
Okay.
I'll sit for a minute. So, if I may, if
You
there's a
may.
minute to sit, the Route 6 sewer line, water line extension, it looked like that did
Yeah.
not pass through
Correct.
town meeting. So
Right.
is there a plan of action from here of what we're going to do in that area in general?
The Board of Health has not been involved at all in the infrastructure planning or anything like that, so we're not the best source of information, I should say, in terms of future planning. I think one thing we're doing from the Board of Health perspective is we kind of held off, as you know, we've extended the deadline for cesspools. We have a whole cadre of somewhere around 800 properties where we have no plans in place in our records, identified as properties where the house was built before 1970. So kind of likely possible cesspools. So we're trying to figure out how to prioritize outreach to those properties, given that it appears that sewer is not imminent, and it's never going to happen in many areas of town, anyways. So that's kind of what we're
Thank you.
thinking about, but.
That's kind of all I saw too, so I just wanted to ask you that.
But the select board or the infrastructure committee would be the ones, or the planning board perhaps, would be the ones who might have more idea about the town regrouping and where it might go. There is still the grant fund for the water line extension to go down further down Route 6 and around, that captures the Macumber School because of it's a PFAS grant because of contaminated wells. So that is proceeding because that did not require any town match or any borrowing or anything. So that I know is proceeding, or I understand is proceeding. But again, we're not particularly privy to the planning.
Thank you.
Can I ask, do we know if that's a voluntary tie-in to that?
My
Right,
understanding
well,
it is,
Mhm.
and that there is no betterment fee. It is, I don't know if they cover the cost of tie-in for those who have contaminated wells. Those voluntary tie-ins probably would have the connection cost, and then obviously the cost of the water bill in the future. But I don't know for sure. I want to say that I listened to town meeting, I mean, not to the select board, some part of the select board meeting where this was discussed, and I believe there is just the connection cost, but don't quote me on that again.
That was one of the sticky things too, people talking about the betterment and how that was going to affect them tax-wise.
For the sewer project, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that there's some people in town who are looking at making recommendations about changing some of the ways we tax in town. So I don't know if that will ever come to fruition, but certainly David Cole is trying to present some information that might help with the next step, but it's going to take some convincing.
Yeah, I hope that in the future they do a really good education campaign.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Anything else we want to discuss informally while we're waiting for the board?
You can jump to topics the next regular meeting if you want, for the next meeting.
We did. We already
We already
covered
did
that.
that.
Weren't paying
Covered that?
attention.
Probably was probably looking at that plan.
Yeah, East Beach,
Speech.
sort of planning for anticipating weather extremes continuing to impact East Beach from a, in terms of septic, tight tank, et cetera. So that's a future topic. I think. I don't have anything else I can think of. Let's see. We are following up on, I just looked at my notes from our last working meeting. It's something I forgot to follow up on, about the mapping of the
Mhm.
unknowns.
Yeah.
I will do that. Make myself another note.
Yeah,
You're talking about mapping of the unknowns where we don't know what kind of septic system somebody has.
Right.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what I was thinking, going back with a longer list of where we identified contaminated, sites that exceeded the MCL, could kind of match those two.
Yeah, well, I know that there's data in the integrated water management plan
Yeah.
from that Kleinfelter gathered.
Right.
And you have access to that?
What I would have access to is the list. What we all have access to is, because there's a single WordPerfect file that has the list of all the letters that have been issued.
Okay.
And that was the basis upon which Kleinfelder developed the map.
Okay.
But they're able to do that because the software can establish, the longitude, long lat thing, and put that information on the map.
Okay, they didn't convert to Excel or anything?
Well, I don't know, because
Yeah.
I wasn't a part of it.
Okay.
And I had talked to my contact there, Alex, who was very involved in the sewer project, so, and I think we could get them possibly to do it, but then also maybe, as you would say, maybe there are other contacts, and the gentleman's name I can't remember, who might be able to do it, either through Buzzards Bay or some connection
Okay.
there, so,
But the list you gave me from was 2019 to 2023.
yeah.
If there's more earlier, we can.
Right, so I think there was about 80, that they identified in the area of in the build-out area of the sewer project.
Okay.
But there were more distributed throughout the town.
Yeah, I say
Um,
200 or something.
And so, yeah, so we, you know, so.
So we should work on
It depends
accessing
how
that data.
complicated, I mean, so, yeah, so that piece of, so that information we have, and probably could be supplemented by this, I think, asking, you know, the consultant to then integrate the 600, or whatever, the 800 unknowns into that to see where they match up, is, you know, a whole nother ask.
Well, what I did from the data you gave me
Yeah.
today was I just went into our septic database. So
Right.
I could look at each address and
Right.
see what kind of septic system is in place. So I've highlighted the ones that are unknowns
Right,
that we might want to prioritize.
right,
for
right, right,
review. And
yeah,
that was maybe a half dozen.
right, right.
So.
As you were saying, the further back in time we go, anyway, yeah, so, I don't know,
Okay.
it just requires somebody with more
let's-
data savvy than I have to kind of, you know,
Yeah.
kind of look at it. But I think it was the general idea is, one, if we mapped all the unknowns and then we're able to align it with the,
Contaminated well.
with the contaminated wells, you know, that was, you know, that might be worthwhile. And it's certainly relevant if, yeah,
I had another thought. The Environmental Affairs data portal
mm-hmm,
has well data from public water supplies,
mm-hmm,
the, you know, the PFAS and so on.
right,
So,
right, yeah, and we
that-
could integrate
but
that too.
I don't know how easily that could be.
Yeah,
I mean, I just looked at it individually when we were
mm-hmm,
sort of
mm-hmm, yeah,
talking about PFAS a while ago.
Could I just add one more thing, maybe possibly to the next agenda, which is the transfer station regulation with seeing about adding the age restriction?
Okay, yes.
what restriction?
Age.
Oh, Okay.
Most of the other transfer stations across the state say something to the effect that if, you know, anybody between 12 and 16 have to remain in the vehicle.
oh, I see.
Or supervised at all times.
Or under
What-
12. I thought it was under 12.
They vary across the state. So, see when we're having a particular issue that might be helpful.
All right. Okay, yep, we'll put that in. So I'll look into that database and see if there's a useful way to
Yeah,
collate
and,
them.
yeah, okay,
Because it's sort of
yeah,
random, it seems like. Well, I mean, it's by date, but in terms of easily accessible. I'm not a data expert, but,
and I can talk to Mike Burrows in planning, because I think that they may have, you know, the software
oh,
to be
okay.
able to do it too, you know, so if it's, you know, I just don't know how automated it is, how much there is a data entry thing, or if it was a situation where we have a spreadsheet and we can just give you the spreadsheet and then they, you know, the software can just read the spreadsheet and,
That would be good.
you know, that kind of thing. I
It's
just don't know.
beyond my
I
ken.
don't know the,
Okay, well, we have managed to
Consume that.
chew up 10 minutes, and it is 4:40 PM, so I am going to call the hearing for 217 Tickle Road, owned by Jennifer Walsh. This is a two-bedroom repair with a bottomless sand filter and Advantex on a 6,780 square foot lot, represented by Mark Roderick. So we'll have you start the presentation. We know we have at least one abutter here who is welcome to ask questions once the presentation is
Stand
done.
by, Brian. Good afternoon, Mark Rodericks, Analysis and Design Engineering. Before us is a repair plan for Jennifer Walsh, 217 Tickle Road. This is one of the small parcels of land that are bordering the southwest Tupper Pond. She currently has a cesspool on the property, perhaps a gray water cesspool as well. We're proposing to replace that with a nitrogen reduction pre-treatment system consisting of a 2-compartment tank as required by the pre-treatment unit, the Advantex. It's an AX20 RT system. They're popular, that you've seen from me before, so that's the system that's often proposed. And that's discharging to a bottomless sand filter. The sand filter's been designed and is sized accordance to the guidelines, RIDEM guidelines. The lot is only 6,780 square feet. We've got on-site and abutting wells all around. We've got the pond. So my efforts were try to get something in here that's going to provide an environmentally compliant solution to this problem. Again, it's the Advantex system with a bottomless sand filter. There are several setback-related waivers that I'm looking for. They're listed in the letter and on the plan. Most importantly are the setbacks to wells, private water supply wells, which are less than 100 feet. That includes the site well, which has an offset of approximately 82 feet. William Walsh III is at 217P to the north of the property, shown on the plan. That setback is 76 feet, and the third of 3 well setbacks, less than 100, is Mr. Brian Nato, 217 Article Road, with an approximate setback of 73 feet. And that is Mr. Nato that's behind us here, so if he has any questions or comments, we welcome that. The second setback distance is the tank and the Advantage system, which are on the west side of the 2-bedroom dwelling, are less than 10 feet. That's 6 feet for the tank and 6.2 feet plus or minus for the property line setbacks. That is one of the 3 abutter notices that we've got a green card back on. Setback distance of the tank to the crawl space, which is on the north side of this building. That was evidently a converted garage on slab that was now living space. And that is also 6 feet versus 10 for the tank to the crawl space. The Advantex system to the slab is 6 feet versus 10 to the foundation crawl space. And the bottomless sand filter is 7 and change feet, 7.7 feet versus 10 feet off the slab foundation. Lastly, I've included the fact that we did do a sieve analysis that was performed in lieu of perk testing. So not a lot of room, and when we're space constrained, generally the BSFs provide the most environmentally safe and compliant solution we can come up with for the property. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodrick. Green cards you turned over, great, thank you.
Right over here, those are the 3.
And we turn to Matt's report.
No, I've been over this a couple times, and there's no issues, best you can do on this very small lot.
Okay. Board member questions?
No, I'm just curious, is this near the Tebow's? Is this where the Tebow's are? I see the peninsula. Yeah, just
Yeah,
know that when we had all the flooding, that whole peninsula was flooded. It's just something that I.
Wet. It
Yeah.
was wet when I
Yeah, it
was
was-
working it.
It
When
went-
I met Mr. Nato, it was wet.
It went up to, I think, their second floor, almost to the second floor. So I just think about that kind of thing too, when we're looking at these down close to the water.
It was actually quite obvious to me that there's some probability of the excessive rain we've got. We've been having problems in many places that haven't seen water issues before. This is going in front of, I wanted to add, if I may, this is going in front of Conservation at tomorrow's hearing. So an RDA has been filed with Conservation in hearings tomorrow.
Okay, great. I have one niggling little request. The first general note about compliance with Title V.
Yes.
Can you update the date, because we now have updated Title V regulations from 2023?
They are, and they're actually officially on the books today.
Okay, yeah, so just, or eliminate the date with current Title V is fine.
Okay.
That way you don't have to worry, but it just, I know you're very conscientious, so I wanted to.
Yep, and I looked at those, and the revisions for the new one really don't pertain to any of the matters that we're addressing here,
Yeah.
but yes, it's an official promulgated date of just now, so,
Oh, I thought it was July of '23.
this year, yep, I think you might be right, yes. And I've been leaving that note pretty consistent, but I can catch that in
In July of last year.
July of '23.
Yeah, yep.
Mhm.
Okay. It was just for future, I'm sure it's fine here, but
Got
just
it.
to clean it up. Okay, so, Mr. Nadeau, do you have any questions or concerns, or you would want to look at the plan?
I don't need to look at the plan, I'm just more concerned about my well, my drinking water, and is there a possibility it could get contaminated? And if so, what are the,
What are your, I'm going to let Mr. Rodericks
Well,
address that.
he had mentioned to me when we met that he questioned that, which is a good question, actually. Right now, he's got a repair system, rather old repair system on record. I do not have an as-built for that, but that shows his conventional system is plus or minus 80 feet from his well. And we're calling for 73 feet per my measurement, my field measurement of his well. And then I also point to two other facts pertaining to that. The current cesspool on this property, which is
Not good?
not good, period, is approximately 73, 74. I did not excavate it and dig it up, but there's evidence of hydraulic failure in the area that I've shown on the plan, and that too is approximately 80 feet. And then lastly, that this provides such extensive pre-treatment that I think any residuals going into the ground from this type of system as compared to what is currently going into the ground with the cesspool are more significant and severe to the situation of potential well contamination. So this, I believe, clearly makes it better than what's there in terms of protection of Mr. Nadeau's well.
Do we have any preliminary water testing?
You have not, well, we will require 3 years of water testing of your well and all the affected wells.
And there are two, there's site well and a third well.
One additional well.
who does the testing?
Pardon?
Who does the testing?
It's,
The
is it
lab comes out and does it.
the lab? And the testing is paid for by the applicant here, so you don't have to pay for the testing. They'll come out, the lab technician comes out to collect the water sample at all 3 locations for 3 years.
3 years now, how many times a year? Is it once a year?
Once a year.
So what happens after 3 years?
After that, if you want to continue testing, you could on your
On
own.
my own?
On your own, yes. So to circle back to what Mr. Rodericks was saying is, his assessment is that this is an improvement to the current conditions because there's the existing septic system, if you want, which is a cesspool, which provides no treatment, is about the same distance as what the new system will be. And the new system is an advanced treatment system. It's sort of like a mini sewer plant on property, if you will, that should be an improvement because it's providing advanced treatment compared to the cesspool that's there now. The other thing that Mr. Rodericks mentioned is that your own septic system is also less than 100 feet from your own well.
It was, what, 83?
About,
I think it said plus or minus 80 on the plan that I found from the board, Brian.
yeah.
It said plus or minus 80, but it was sort of a hand sketch.
So it's a pretty old, your system might be pretty old, it sounds like. If
It's
it,
not new.
yeah, so that's another risk factor for your well from your own septic system that he can't control with this plan. So the variable of what's happening on your neighbor's property should be an improved situation. It may not guarantee water quality. I don't know if you've had it tested on your own in the past, because there's still a non-conforming, what we call non-conforming, meaning your existing system is less than 100 feet that Title V would currently require if it was new construction. You know, the standards have gotten more restrictive over time because we've seen that the older regulations didn't adequately protect. So, so on the proposal that's happening now, that should improve, but there's still other sources of potential contamination to your well. So even the data won't say for sure, if it's not great, that it's because of this property owner. It could be from your own. So that it doesn't trace it like that, but it will give us an idea. Is there, I forget, like a baseline test?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we'll have a baseline test before the upgrade, so that can be a frame of reference. So you might want to think, depending on what that shows, and when shows after a year of service of the new system, and if there is contamination levels that are higher than we'd like to see,
What happens then?
you might want to have your own septic system assessed for the risk it might be posing to your well, because it's less than 100 feet. And if you upgrade your own system, then you're providing an additional protection to
So
your well.
basically, say 2.5 years from when it gets put in,
Mhm.
they test it, comes back contaminated. What happens then?
If it depends on the level of contamination, our advice to you is to, treat the well, not necessarily, depending on the levels and what the contamination might be. You have to think about how you want to use that water, whether you need bottled water or whatever. But
So basically, you're telling me if it comes back contaminated, Mr. Nato, you're gonna drink bottled water for the rest of the time you live there?
no, I'm suggesting that you might consider looking at your own septic system as a source. And if it's upgraded, then you're likely to have further improvement. We can't guarantee anything in terms of water quality. If you have no data now, if you haven't ever tested your well or recently tested your well, we have no knowledge of what its condition is at this point. So at least we're going to get data points that you don't have right now to assess the water quality.
Okay, next question would be for Mark. It's an artesian well, and I know it's 100 feet deep. Does that make a difference in, making it better to stay cleaner? Since the contamination's got to filter through that much more
Would you like
feet?
me to respond?
Yeah.
I believe that a drilled well, 100 feet or 100 feet plus, serves much better protection from contamination than a hand-dug shallow well. And saying if I drill it deeper, would it get better? I don't think there's anything that says that would be a yes or a no. The code says get it 100 feet away, and then that's what they, I'm not gonna say arbitrarily, but that's been the rule for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I don't think you've got 100 feet separation to put another well. So you're pretty much as far away as you can get from this current system and also your own, right? I think the baseline water test that Ms. Walsh will be paying for is gonna be very telling to you to kind of put you at ease or more or less at ease in terms of how's your well, and do you drink the water now?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. But I think that baseline, which will be a part of this outcome today, is that we will be getting a baseline sample done, and I think that's good for you to have anyway,
Okay.
especially given the proximity of your system to your own well. Not 100, more like 80.
Now, where's it was how many feet from?
I've got it at 73.
70?
From the closest corner of the bottomless sand filter, 73. and that's about the same distance as your well to her cesspool, which is definitely not good for groundwater. And your well is about 80. But this is a pre-treated system that they boast, you can almost drink what they discharge to that system, which I wouldn't recommend that, but, it is about as advanced a pre-treatment system as there is locally that I am aware of.
Okay.
That's the best we can do here. You're not square peg in a round hole. Mr. Nicholas got 23,000 square feet to work with. I got 6,700. It's not there.
Yeah, this is a challenge in all small lots.
Figured that much,
There's just not a whole lot of room to maneuver. Did we answer all your questions?
Yes.
Okay. Anything further from the board? Anything else from the audience? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
It's going to be a long one. I move that we approve the plan for 217 Old Tickle Road owned by Jennifer Walsh dated 4/23/24 for a 2-bedroom repair with the variances as written in the plan. There are numerous.
We talked about that last time.
Right.
That was the laundry list.
Right,
shorten it.
with the following conditions. Hold harmless agreement, 2-bedroom deed restriction, water testing times 3 years for all involved wells, 2 times a year, total nitrogen testing times 2 years, an O&M agreement, Concom review. Did I miss anything?
Sieve analysis, did you say?
Oh, and
Well,
now.
that was one of the requests on the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
right.
no, that's not a condition, that's a variance.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the project with those conditions at 217 Old Tickle Road. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. I'm sorry.
What was the last one?
Concom?
O&O and Concom review.
And that's tomorrow, Phil. You gonna be there?
What's that?
Concom tomorrow?
Oh, yes, I will be there.
Don't
So
wanna
you'll
miss
hear it
that.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
And I've got another one on Watuppa Pond that's even tighter. It's on its way.
There's a lot of them.
Well, without well issues, but it's closer to the pond. So that's a full notice. You good? Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to call the 4:50 PM hearing for 190 East Beach Road, owned by Leslie French. This is for a tight tank replacement in a different location, represented by Oak Hill Engineering. Welcome. Please state your name and you can begin your presentation.
Good evening, Mark Mariano with Oak Hill Engineering, 75 Oak Hill Ave, Seekonk, Massachusetts. And I'm representing Leslie French for a tight tank replacement at 190 East Beach Road. So as a result of the storm that occurred,
Excuse me.
I'll wait.
Excuse me, let's just wait a second.
Oh, 27.
Okay, I think we can proceed now.
Sure.
Thank you.
190 East Beach Road, it had a tight tank found right here, actually relatively closer to the beach,
Yep.
which was exposed during the storm in December. And it's currently just exposed out of the ground and non-compliant at this point. So
Yep.
we would like to remove that and relocate it further away to the north towards East Beach Road. And what we did here is we have, I believe, so backing up a little bit, the tank that was installed was around 1994, based upon your records, for 220 gallons per day. What we're proposing, that was a 1,000-gallon tank put in, now we're proposing a 2,000-gallon tank with proper floats. This will be hydraulically ballast as well and tightly sealed up. Risers, we're proposing the risers to be concrete, sealed to the tank and raised a minimum of a foot above grade with cast iron covers that lock. I can't get anything watertight more than that, so. And we're also, we're showing right here on their connection point, concrete to encase the concrete so that it doesn't break off if there was a storm due to velocity or anything like that. Other than that, and then we have the application of the dune, of the grass that's and brush that's over there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mariano. Let me turn to Matt.
It's a pretty big lot that down on East Beach Road.
I know, it is.
60,000 square feet, it's pretty big.
Well, most of it's in the ocean.
Yes, at this point it is.
Yeah, I think relocating the tank closer to the road is a good thing. And I noticed the O&M is integrated on the plan up on the top, so that's good. The other thing I was wondering is, you did a SIP analysis?
We did not, no, because we didn't have a field. Did I?
Did you do I thought you did a SIP analysis, no?
No, because this had a tight tank, so there wasn't, we weren't putting a field in that.
Okay.
'Cause
No, it just references one on the plan a little bit, so.
Oh, well, yeah, those are our standard notes
Okay.
from if they were using Title V sand for a standard system.
All right, so anyways, other than that, everything's fine.
Okay.
I'm just curious whether or not there are tanks that are certified, for lack of a better word, for a certain, so like a hurricane-proof one, or that, whether there's any kind of quantitative analysis that's done as to the level of intensity of storm. As you were saying, they were locked down.
Yeah.
The covers are locked down. And I just wonder, even from a sales perspective, they're saying, well, these are, X and X pressure, pressure resistant.
So I don't think they have pressure resistant tanks or anything like that because, the intent of a septic tank shouldn't be under pressure, so it's not something that.
Right.
But
yeah.
what we do in this case is we look at the external forces that are going to be placed upon that tank. Number one, all right, the high frequency of storms are going to occur in the wintertime. This tank should be empty during the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we have a higher buoyancy on that. And we have some calcs kind of at the top over here that we used an H20 tank. So that's a heavy-duty tank. That's one that you can drive over. So it's that allows 20,000 pounds per axle. But it also, the reason we did that was for weight purposes.
Right.
So the way we do our hydraulic head calculations is that we assume that water level is above the tank on an empty state, and we have enough ballast in the system to be able to withhold and keep it in place. Other than that, some things that you typically wouldn't see on normal, like parking lot application or anything like that, like I put right here, use stainless steel angle and stainless steel wedge anchors to anchor the concrete riser every 18 inches around the circumference of the riser. So not only are they setting that in a bed of hydraulic cement, which seals the interface between the two, but you're also mechanically anchoring that to the structure. And then when it comes, because the rings themselves are about 4 inches wide, which provides a nice setting bed for the covers. So then you would mud that in, and that would kind of all get locked in.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how, and then the cover itself is bolted down, so that's threaded. That'd be really hard to pop that off. I would say the cover would likely release shear off the face of the riser before the cover would ever come off. There's gonna be pumpers that aren't gonna be happy with me on the bolts, but it's kind of necessary in this case.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? So this leads into, we are going to be exploring down the road, how we feel about tight tanks on East Beach, because obviously they keep on popping up out of
Yes.
the ground. And the conditions are not going to get any better,
Nope.
we presume, at East Beach. So whether we say, you know, even though Title V allows them, is there a point where we say, this is just too vulnerable an area? So we're not at that point yet.
Yep.
So we don't have any.
What I can say is if this thing pops out of the ground or if it's getting exposed, this person doesn't have any place to go to. Because their beach is gone at that point.
Yeah.
But that's part of the concern,
Yeah.
is that, you know, you described the
Erosion.
amount of erosion that has already occurred.
Yeah.
And do we have 3 big storms this year that
They
caused?
weren't even-
We had 2 and we had one minor one,
Right.
yeah.
And so to the fact that part of the road is going to need to be repaired, part of the road is gone, and those are the kinds of things that are concerning to me from an environmental standpoint, is continuing to allow tight tanks is not really an environmentally sound decision, in my perspective. But again, we don't have any kind of formal regulation in place to be able to
Yeah.
say
I guess
that's not.
what I'm thinking is that you've had one allowance to replace a tank, but I would say that this would be the last one. And if it needs to be replaced, then it needs to go to self-containment, or they're relocating elsewhere anyways. I don't know if we
Yes.
can do that as a condition, but that's, and we maybe don't need to do it formally, but I just sort of on notice that.
Yeah. What
This is
do you
your way.
define as self-containment?
The trailers will have self-containment.
Oh,
integrated
okay,
into the
okay.
trailer, so they're small holding tanks.
Okay. So, all right, so if they
Because
wanted
the
to pump
trailer-
out, they would take it down the street to the
No,
campground?
Campground.
No, a lot of the trailers will just drop there. They're not mobile. So the pumpers come to them and they hook up at something with the tank.
Oh, okay, yeah, almost like a outhouse type of thing.
But if there's a storm coming, the trailers have to come off the beach, so
Makes
we don't
sense.
have the risk of environmental contamination,
Yeah,
obviously. So, so that's just my informal piece of advice, opinion. It's not necessarily a formal condition that we could put on now, and we haven't got any policy or reg change
yeah.
separately on this at this point. But it's a closing window of opportunity, shall we say.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No?
If not, I'd take a motion.
Phil, you want to do it?
Oh, okay. So I move to approve the plan for the installation of a tight tank at the property owned by Leslie French. Is that right?
Yep.
At 190 East Beach Road. It's a 2-bedroom repair on a plan dated 4/26/24, subject to Concom review, and consistent with the local upgrade approval provisions for tight tanks, including limiting to seasonal use, and that's it.
And O&M?
Hold harmless.
Oh, and a hold harmless agreement?
Yeah, the O&M
No, I
is.
have it here, I just didn't mention it, yeah.
O&M is required as
Okay.
part of Title V, and as is the deed notice, right?
Okay, yeah, so that will be accompanying the filings.
Right.
And this, yeah. And then we will need the O&M agreement, a written agreement with whoever they're going to use to do the work, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So I can second the motion with reservation.
Yes, I think we've expressed that, and I
Yeah.
certainly do too. And informally, this is the last time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Just, we'll adjourn, and then I just have a quick
Sure.
comment for you.
All right, so if there's no further business, I move that we adjourn this meeting at 5:11 PM.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous.